Hello.
Hi.
Hi, beautiful.
It's good to
It's
see
so good to
you.
see
I'm doing
you. How are
okay.
you?
Thank you for asking. How are you?
Awesome, awesome. I'm good. So let's just get straight into it, right? So, who are you? Share some information
Yes,
about us. Who is
that is
Simone,
me.
Miss
Wow.
Butterfly?
Literally,
Who are you?
a butterfly is, I think, one of the best ways to describe me. So I am a content creator. I focus a lot on like body liberation activism. Um, I am an actor. I am an inspirer, a writer, a creator, and I'm just really passionate about connecting with people, um, inspiring them to have better relationships with themselves, and um, of course through birth work as a doula. That's definitely the through line that has
Yeah.
kind of led me to this work. You know.
Yeah, well, great you said that at the end that that's what led you to this work, helping others and supporting others as they honor themselves and honor their bodies. But how did you come into birth work? What made you decide to
I,
be a
I
a doula?
I'm
Are
not a
you a mother?
mother, but
Um,
I was literally surrounded by like birth and birth education growing up. My mother was in birth education um, like my entire early childhood, and I definitely feel like that had a direct hand in like my love and fascination for like pregnancy and labor and delivery. Um, and my mom has become an amazing, accomplished doula. She does a lot of things in Los Angeles. And considering like my prowess and how much I knew about like pregnancy and just, um, birth in general, with that like innate knowledge plus my passion for inspiring people, I figured that that would be a good way to blend the two. You know, I care a lot, like I said, about interpersonal connection. I love to help people work through their issues and to be able to build a better relationship with themselves. And I think a lot of like birth work is that. It is a lot of it is preparing, your client and the mothers for like mental toughness and um, that willpower to know that their body can, literally give birth. So
mhm.
I thought it would be a good way to marry the two, and it's been beautiful, rewarding work thus far. Definitely.
Yes,
Definitely.
yes, yes, absolutely.
I
So you're
am.
new to Atlanta. But you're also new to the Atlanta Doula Collective. So two-part question. Why Georgia, why Atlanta, and why the
Yeah, so
Atlanta
why
Doula Collective?
Georgia? Honestly, black people. Like that was the reason why, one of the like the top reason why. I'm from LA and I'm like from the hood in LA, but when you go outside of the hood, it's very diverse and it's not geared to black people. And Atlanta has built this amazing infrastructure of just like a place for entrepreneurs and people of all like facets and walks of life to be able to make something of themselves. You could find any niche of any person in
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta, and I think that's beautiful. So it was definitely black people, number one. Number two, with my doula work, I wanted to work with primarily with black women, and on top of that, black plus size women. And I think in the South, plus size bodies are just more visible, and it's not as much of a something to discriminate against. A stigma, exactly.
A
It's not there's not as
stigma.
much of a stigma
Mm-hmm.
with like larger
Yeah.
bodies in the South as it is like on the coasts. You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
um and
Mm-hmm.
considering like my advocacy and what I do online, I figured that that would be a great way to um, connect with the community of plus size women out here, plus size black women, while also providing services and helping for the betterment of like something that's really important. Um, and then number
Yeah.
three, what else? I mean, of course, like I said, I act as well in Atlanta. I mean, I'm from LA and that's like the place for acting, but Atlanta, I think, is a smaller market to get into and there's a lot going on. So that's why Atlanta. Why the Atlanta Doula Collective? It's honestly because it's the first thing that popped up when I searched Atlanta doulas. And I was like, this, it really
Oh,
is, yes. So
tell
I'm
the
like searching
story.
because I'm
Tell
like,
the
okay,
story
I
about.
have to make sure that like I connect with some type of doulas out there. I search Atlanta Doula Collective, the website comes up. And then I go to you guys' Instagram, you guys are on live, like right as I'm looking. And and I'm like, okay, wow, this is great. And then you guys say, like, you do applications at the beginning of the year. Then I'm out with a friend, literally just like talking. We're just having like a nice girls brunch day. And I overhear my nosy self overhear y'all talking about doulas. I'm like, oh, interesting. And so I was like, yeah, I hear you guys. I'm sorry to eavesdrop, but I hear you guys talking about doulas. And this is Chanel, and who else was there?
It was me and
So y'all two were
Tiara.
there, and I'm like, oh yeah, have you guys heard of the Atlanta Doula Collective? And y'all were like, we are the Atlanta Doula Collective. So I'm like, the way that just like life just brought us together, I think it's nothing but God, it's nothing but spirit, it's nothing but like just divine destiny. So since then, I applied, and here I am, a part of the collective, which I'm so grateful
Yes,
for. Truly, yeah.
yes, absolutely. So, how do you marry your two things, right? We've had our fair share of dancers and performers and people in the industry, in the collective. I think
Mm-hmm.
being a birth worker, the liberation that comes with that, it just
Yeah.
attracts creatives, right? Like a lot of us are creatives, people who are performers, singers, dancers, actors, all the things. How do you personally marry your
Mm-hmm.
two passions into one? Like, do you incorporate some of these things in your birth work? I know there are some doulas who are specifically, doulas for industry,
Yeah.
people who are in the industry
I
and
mean, I
things like
think
that.
that's
How
the
do you
beauty
marry those
of
two?
like honestly running your own business in a way, is that there's a way for it to evolve. So I feel like now it's definitely from a place of like I definitely use my passion for like confidence and really working out whatever like kinks you may have with their body, and how that may lead um, lead moms to having a certain idea about their own bodies. I feel like that's like part of my discussion, part of my niche, is to like be able to say, so how do you feel about your body at this time? What exactly, like, what pains are there? Are there any like frustrations or hurdles that you're kind of getting over? Like understanding that pregnancy, because there's this idea that like pregnancy equals like being fat, and I'm like,
I hate it. I hate it so
no,
much. Oh
it's
man.
unfortunate, because it's like you always hear moms saying, "Oh, I've just gotten so fat." It's like actually you're carrying life, and I feel like you like I would love to
Right.
remove that, that scope. So I feel like part of what I do in my work is like decentering like size and like beauty standards during the pregnancy journey, and understanding like what your body is here to do, and how you can best assist. You can help I can help best assist you, and then also how you can help yourself, how you can have your community come in and help you as well. So I think that's one way. But I think
Yeah.
it would be awesome. I think the more that I like get experience and opportunities with acting, I would absolutely love to be a doula to like people who are in the same industry as me. I think that's a great way to link the two and marry them, for sure.
Yeah. I love that because I think, and the next question, I think aligns with this is like you share with us kind of what your philosophy is on birth, and that's like body positivity and helping moms to understand like
Yeah,
to honor themselves and honor their bodies, right? And that a lot of that is a part of
absolutely.
what we all do as doulas, right? Is to help people understand that they have autonomy over themselves and
Yeah.
that their body belongs to them. It doesn't belong to
Hmm.
society. It doesn't belong to anybody. So, with that, what is your philosophy on
Mm.
pregnancy and birth? What would you say your philosophy is on that?
I think my philosophy on pregnancy and birth is very much like mom centered. So it's like whatever makes moms feel comfortable. I think doulas, because it's more of a holistic approach. There's this idea that we're more like, I mean, there are some like crunchy doulas, right? There are some crunchy girls who are very much like, no this, no this, no this, whatever. You need to be natural, no C-section. We're avoiding all these things. But for me, it's like, my philosophy is making sure that that mom comes out alive and baby comes out alive. So it's really, I'm someone who likes to have my clients take the lead in terms of their plan, and I'm just there to support. So my doula work is about being an anchor. It is about being a grounding force, someone that they can refer to, because there's so much information out there, There's so much that people have access to because of the internet. And sometimes you can get information overload, but it's like, I'm there to be your grounding force, someone you can rely on. So that, I think, is what's important to me, being a
Yeah.
supporting anchor. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love the
for sure.
anchor piece of it. So what is your niche? Is your niche birth, or is your niche more education, or is it postpartum? What would you say your niche
I would say
is
my niche
as
is
a
like,
birth worker?
is birth doula. I consider myself a birth doula. I'm not necessarily, I don't, I could do like short term postpartum. I don't know if I could be like an overnight postpartum doula. That's not really my thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So and
Me
it's so
either.
funny. I feel like it's so broad. Like the word doula is so broad. Like there's so many types of doulas, and a lot of people get it mixed up with so many things. But like for me, I'm there for birth. I'm there for like antepartum. There for education, um, lactation education. Like that's where I feel the most comfortable in, and that's like the work that I focus on. Yeah,
Hmm.
I've been
And
yeah,
how long have you been a doula?
yeah.
When did you
So
decide?
I got my license certificate in 2020, in the middle of the pandemic. Um, I think that's when I was like kind of I
Hmm.
think that's when we were all reevaluating, like, okay, what exactly is happening in our lives, and like, how can we find a way to be fulfilled in this crazy time? So yeah, 2020 in July, I did a training, and been there ever since. Yeah.
Same. I did my doula training in July of 2020. Something different about those of us who
Yeah.
came around that time, for sure. But yeah, I
Oh, I
took my
didn't
doula
know
training in
that.
July
Wow, that's
2020.
cool.
So, yep, with Nakia
Mhm.
Lawson, hashtag trained by Nakia. That's when I took my training. But yeah, okay. So let's talk a little bit more about
Mhm.
your other professional
Sure.
work, your influencing and all of that. Tell us a little bit more about that. When did you get into that? What does that
So
work look like
I've
for you?
been working in like content creation since about 2015. I initially started off doing like fashion. So I did a lot of like plus size fashion work. I worked with a lot of plus size fashion brands. I started like a viral hashtag in 2016 called We Wear What We Want. It was based on this story that I've seen on social media about this girl who was like publicly shamed for like having on something. Mind you, it was like during the summer, publicly shamed for wearing something that showed more skin. And I was like, screw that, like we were what we want. So that became a lot of my platform. Um, and yeah, so within that became my like fat liberation, body liberation activism work. So um, I've been interviewed. I've talked a lot. Like I think, considering I grew up plus size and I've been doing this work for a lot. There's a lot of time. I would consider myself more of an expert on the topic. Um, but I think for now, content creation is really just about self-expression and continuing to inspire people. Like I feel like that's the word that I use so often because it really is what I like to do. Like I love to like make an impact. Like that's extremely important to me. So I think even through like me posting about like, if it's something like goofy, something funny, but it still has a lesson to it. Like as long as I'm making some type of impact, I think that's what matters the
Hmm.
most to me. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So I know you grew
Mhm.
up, you just said you grew up plus size, so you kind of feel like you have the connection to that. But when did you feel like this is something that I need to advocate for and I need to do more to bring awareness to, like, we can look different. We all look different. We can look different. It's okay. And we should accept each other for those differences. When did that
Yeah, I
become
think
like a passion of
I've,
yours?
I've always been outspoken. I've always been somebody who speaks my mind. Um, I am not shy about that. And I was bullied a lot growing up, and my confidence was not the best. I always had some type of like self determination and like wit and like a driving force within me, but I still like my self esteem was still affected because I was surrounded by people who didn't look like me. So, as I got older and like I found my voice, I found my love of acting, and I was like, okay, in order for me to be on stage or be in a production, you have to really deal with those body issues because everybody can see you. So if you're afraid to be seen, like you can't do that. So I've been on social media
Mm-hmm.
since literally the beginning of it, like for a long time. Like I was on Twitter in like
Mm-hmm.
2009 type thing. So, and I would often like to, share my little hot takes about, being a plus size woman and like with dating and fashion and the way I was treated and like how, all of my experiences, and people really like that. And then I dress nicely and people like my clothes and they're like, oh, this is great. Like we love her. We love that she's outspoken. And then people kind of started to lean on me and look to me for, different takes about how was certain things that were happening in society. And I remember the first thing that like kind of like took me to the next level. I was invited to like a Torrid, which is at the plus size clothes like pool party. A video
Mm-hmm.
went viral and like
Mm-hmm.
it's been a whirlwind since then. So yeah,
Ooh.
it's I love it.
Ah.
I'm redefining it now because I am focusing more on my passions and what I really want to do. And yeah, who knows? But I'm open. I'm
Yeah.
open.
Who knows?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's amazing. So, how do you see some of these things supporting plus size clients? How do you see some of that potential lack of confidence and like that? Um, oh gosh, I even went to like
Absolutely.
discriminations and things
Absolutely.
that show up in the healthcare system, especially
Mm-hmm.
for plus size Black women. I think, a lot of us can relate that our
Mm-hmm.
grandmas and our mamas was probably a plus size woman, right? Similar for me. And I know some of the struggles. I remember my mom talking about certain things like that she would get from her
Yeah.
doctors or hear, and things like that. How does that show up in your work when supporting plus size mamas? Like what is your advocacy
I think
towards
it's about,
that for birth
like, for me,
givers?
it's about breaking the stigma of like, and the fear surrounding like visiting your doctor or like seeking help outside of yourself. Because I feel like that's been the common thing. There's a lot of people, plus size women, Black women, marginalized people are often like afraid to go to higher ups because of that discrimination. So really like my job as a doula is to educate them and let them know like the truth about like what their bodies can do. And like granted, I in my work it's not to say that like issues cannot exist while being plus size. I think that can very well happen and I never deny that. But it's really about like not letting that be the focus of every single visit. So like if a mom is going for
Mm-hmm.
her, like her 3 month checkup and the doctor's like, well, you're gaining weight. It's like, well, also she's pregnant, right? She's 3 months pregnant.
She's three
So,
months
right, it's
pregnant,
normal for her to
right?
do
Like
that.
that's
So it becomes
normal.
the focus of the visit instead of it staying on course and being like, okay, well, I'm worried if I want to make sure that my baby's okay. If my health is good and I'm still doing what I have to do in order to like grow this life to be in the healthiest way possible, like then so be it. So it's really just about preparing my clients for,
Mm-hmm.
once again, having a youth-centered experience. So making sure that they're putting themselves first. So if things get swayed, they know how to get it back on track. Also, giving them materials to educate themselves so that if I'm not there, if I'm not readily available, they have that information at their fingertips and they can use it to their advantage. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I love that. Um,
I
So, being
am.
that you're from the West Coast and now you're
Uh,
here in Atlanta, what are some differences that you see in being a birth worker from
yeah.
California versus Atlanta, and how
I
have you
do
been navigating
think
that?
that California has a lot more initiatives, but I think it's just because LA County's bigger. And there's just I think and
Mm-hmm.
it's a liberal state, right? Most of it is liberal. So it's liberal leaning at least. So I feel like there's some things are just they're a little more ahead of the curve with when it comes to like the overall general birth like workspace. But I think with Atlanta, from what I've seen and like with the ADC, there are specific initiatives for Black women. Um, and I love that it's like
Mm-hmm.
grassroots. It's by us for us. And I think it's less of a clinical approach and more of a community approach. I feel like there's definitely a difference in Los Angeles. It's like through the government, so it's very like ration specifically, and so there's not a lot of outreach where people feel like they can kind of like connect with anybody. I think it just so happens because doulas are naturally
Right.
usually connective people, but with Atlanta
Mm-hmm.
and what I've experienced, there's so much like outpouring of like love and like the sense of community and home that I think doulas naturally have. And I think it just has lots to do with the fact that Atlanta has been like, it's a Black hub. So I think that it just lends to a lot more um, focus on Black people and Black women. And I really love that. It's one of the reasons why,
Mm-hmm.
I moved here.
I think that's always so shocking because like you expect, I guess because
Yeah.
we know like as Black people we know other Black people, and so you expect that like LA or like Oakland and those places like that are, they're diverse, but it still seems like it's not, there aren't Black
Yeah.
spaces
Yeah.
besides like the hood, right? Like, and when you go outside of that, there's like spaces for everybody
Mm-hmm.
else, but still not Black spaces. And I always find that so intriguing because we do know
Mm-hmm.
that California is such like a liberal state, a place that is like super inclusive, but then it's still like it
Yeah,
doesn't feel that way
and
for
truth be
Black
told,
people.
like if you look at the
Um,
history of Los Angeles, there's a lot. I think it just leans more towards Latinx people, like more like brown folks, as they're like politically called, whatever.
mm-hmm.
I think that's just what the city is focuses on, because that's the largest part of the population. But I mean, of course, there's Black people there, and I
Yeah,
grew up around them. Like I know Black people because I grew up around them, but I'm sure if I left, it would be a different story. So I think that has a lot to do with why there isn't. Granted, there are some things happening in LA too, but and my mom works with one of the programs there that focuses on African American infant and maternal mortality. But I think there's just it's not warm. It's not as warm. I feel like that warmth I think is what
mm-hmm.
it's what not only it's not only what gets us clients, but it's what gets the ADC the first link that you click on when you type. You know what I'm saying? Because the community knows.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. So,
Mhm.
okay, I have
Mhm.
kids that are birth workers' children. I don't know any birth workers'
Yeah.
children though, like adult birth workers' children. What was that like growing up with a doula for a mom? Like, and usually you'll see kids want
Mhm.
to veer so
Mhm.
far away from what they grew up in, but you finding yourself here, like, what
I
was that
loved
like?
it. Like I would recreationally watch a baby story on TLC with my mom. Like recreationally. I remember like there's this distinct memory of like if it would be like a nice cool like a nice summer's day, ocean like the ocean LA breeze through my parents' front window and baby story just like on the TV and just being like, wow. And like no like just the little lingo, like
Oh,
I always found it so beautiful and fascinating. And I think because my mom I love her. Like my mom and I are extremely close, and like seeing how effortlessly she connects with people, and then her knowledge is like she loves what she does. And I'm so grateful to grow up with a mother who loves me actively and was a really good mom and loves what she does because it definitely inspired me. You know, so I
yeah,
aspire to
yeah.
be if I could be half of the doula that woman is, because that woman is she's sprightly and young in spirit, but she really does not need to be out in the streets like
Mm-hmm.
she still is. You know what I'm saying? Like she's still working. My mom is like literally she's at a birth right now, like getting like her client got induced,
Oh,
and she's the person who's gonna try and be there with you. You know what I mean? So it's like to get to that point, would be a dream, and I know it's on the way because I come from her. So yeah.
yeah. Do you guys know? I know, like a lot of us were like, "Oh, I know my ancestor who was
Mm-hmm.
what." Like for me, it's my great grandmother, right? And we have to kind of like look back to
Right
find that person.
there.
But for you, it's like direct connection. Do you know if that's like a family? Like, was there anyone else in your family down the line somewhere that was in birth work
I
or a
feel
midwife or
like I
anything
don't
like
think
that?
on my mom's side, but there's a lot on my dad's side. My dad is from Guyana, South America, and I feel like there's something over there. I would not be
Yeah.
surprised. I'm sure if I did some deep diving and like, asked my dad or, unfortunately my like grandparents have passed on from that side, but I do have family that's still there. So I would love to explore that because I feel like there has to be something. Because there's definitely like music in my family for sure. And I also sing too. I don't talk about it much. But there's music. You can't, people say that. And I'm
I can
like,
hear it.
they have a
Uh-huh.
musical voice. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, thank you. Thank you. But yeah, so I definitely would like to. I think I hear like you guys talk about it often, like, in like our meetings and stuff and talking about like even like the orientation meetings. It was like a lot of history like that we discussed. And I think there's probably
Hmm.
something. There's probably something back in the
Yeah.
heritage somewhere.
Yeah, you should
Yeah.
definitely look into that and find out. Guyana is such a beautiful place. I had a counselor in middle school.
Aw.
He was such an amazing guy. What was his name? I can't remember. He was an older, bald
Oh my
head
God,
black man,
I
and
love
he was
it.
from Guyana. And he was like, oh my gosh, he was so amazing.
Yeah,
And he taught us a lot about Guyana. And so I just feel like I know the place, even though I've never been there or
that's
anything because
awesome.
of my counselor. I wish I could remember Mr. I want to keep saying Mr.
Yeah.
Green or Mr. Greenleaf, but that ain't it. I know that ain't it. I
Oh,
can't think of his last name, but amazing man. And one
yeah.
of those people you remember from your childhood.
Made
He
an
was
impact on
definitely
you.
that.
Yeah.
So yeah. Well, that's beautiful. So what
Hmm.
as a doula, how do you like what does your support style look like? So I know we talked about like your advocacy as far as like, body positivity and all those things like that. But like what is your niche? So like for me, mine is education. I always tell my clients like I'm gonna teach you something. I don't do nothing else. You're gonna know the stuff, right? Like what is your
I want
support
to
style?
be like, regardless of what age of my client, like whatever age my client is, I would love to be just like your supportive big sister in a way. You know, somebody who you can call within the hours, unless you're 36 weeks. Unless you're 36 weeks. Unless
Exactly.
you're
But
36 weeks.
let them know. Let them know.
Per the agreement.
per the per
Right.
the agreement.
But I would love I think is like the best way I can connect with my clients is to like let them know that I'm there for them. Like I'm a texter, you can call me, I'll educate you. I'm someone you can ask any question on earth about whatever it is and I want to be there to like give you the answers. So education is really important to me. Um and empowerment, like being like your hype girl. Like I want to be your hype woman in the labor
Hmm.
and delivery room. You know what I'm saying? During your pregnancy. So I feel like that's what I focus more on. Being
Yeah.
like you got this. Or like, it's okay if you don't got this, but I got you, you know? Yeah. So if anything, I'm
Hmm.
gonna be I'm gonna be your like
And
your
you can
sister
do
hype,
that.
like cheering you on. But professionally.
Yeah. Yeah. I call
Yes.
it your glorified homegirl.
Like,
Like you do have to
I'm
pay
still your
me, but
homegirl.
I'm
Like
still your homegirl.
we can still talk after this.
Like
Like
I'm your homegirl.
after I get my second half of
Absolutely.
that fee, we're locked in. Like we're
Let's
good.
be
Like
homegirls.
that's very important to me.
Right. Right. Like
Right.
literally, let's be homegirls and anything that you need. No, and a lot of my clients, I do end up like any given time. Like, no, I really try to put a filter on. And I hope, the moms who may be here listening understand from like the doula's perspective. Like, I understand we are there at the most
Mm-hmm.
vulnerable time in their
Mm-hmm.
lives. We are there with their
Mm-hmm.
families. We become an extended member of the family. But the
Yeah.
time does have to come to an end at a point. But like the door is always
Absolutely.
open for me with my clients. Like if it's whether it's another baby or if it's you're having those issues, interpersonal issues that you want to talk to me about that nobody else can understand,
Mm-hmm.
but you let me into that part of
Yeah.
your life, like
Yeah.
hit
With
me
that.
up, within
Right.
reason. Don't expect
Right.
me to
Exactly.
just be, you know what I mean? But also within reason. And I think that's the beautiful thing that it takes a definitely a special kind of person to be able to stand in that gap. And if I had to speak for our families and our clients, I think they like there's nothing more that
Yeah.
they appreciate than that. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like us standing in that gap for them through that experience. That's amazing. So what
I
what
am
offerings do you have? You're
accepting
accepting
clients.
clients, right? Like
I'm
right now?
accepting. clients as a birth doula and a lactation education specialist as well. Yeah, I'm open to clients, truly.
Okay, share with us about that. So are you like
Um,
certified in
so I am working
lactation?
on my certification now. So technically, I probably shouldn't say that. Um, I mean, well, yeah, yeah,
I mean, no, why not?
I am getting it. Like I'm getting, I'm in a training now. Um, and yeah, what was the other question you asked? I'm so sorry. I just completely blanked.
No, I was asking about like your lactation knowledge. Like why lactation? What do you know? Is that something
I,
that you feel comfortable
I can
teaching?
support.
Can you
I
support
can support
moms
moms. I don't know
through
about teaching,
lactation?
but I could definitely support. I think it's something that I don't mind like pairing with my doula work. So I think it's part of like my
Mm-hmm.
like that 6 week post uh, time that I offer with my clients, where I'll do them like
Mm-hmm.
lactation education at that point. So yeah, I don't know about
Awesome.
teaching yet. I'm not that comfortable, but yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And why did you like I know most of us have like a secondary thing, whether
Mm-hmm.
it's like childbirth or lactation or whatever, and they do of course go hand in hand, but like what's your take on lactation? Why did you want to make sure that you were equipped with that knowledge to
To
also
be
provide
fair,
lactation support?
I it was a part of my training, my initial training. So we did get some education with that, and then there was a secondary part of it that came with the opportunity that I had when I trained. But also, it's as simple as I was breastfed till I was 2, and I think it's what made me who I am. I truly think it made me
Absolutely,
like
girl.
the person I am. So though I understand that the struggle with lactation is like a lot of especially Black women often struggle with the idea of breastfeeding. And so my role is to essentially educate you so that you make the best choice. Because I think there's so much
Mm-hmm.
you can I think the relationship that you have with your like that mothers have with their babies as breastfeed like while breastfeeding grows exponentially. I think there's I mean we don't even need to get into the benefits of it, but it's just more so like I would rather give you everything you need to know so that you can make the best informed decision, you know. But I think it's cool. I just think it's
Yeah.
awesome, like our bodies create this magical like serum as you
For as
need it.
long as we need it. Like you cannot even be
Still
able to have
lactate.
children anymore and you can still lactate.
It's
That
awesome.
is amazing.
Right.
Like, why would you not want to give
No
that to your baby? I
judgment,
don't
no
know.
shade.
No judgment, no shame. Because if you can't and you got a formula feed, that's fine. But like, if you
Just try.
can
And
breastfeed,
that goes
like,
into
just try,
like
just
your
for a little
relationship
bit.
with your
Like,
body, because there's so many reasons that a lot of women don't
yes.
breastfeed. Whether it's like um whether it's because of some type of trauma, whether it's their own insecurities with their breasts or feeling that they're
Mm-hmm.
going to get too large or they're just going to sag, whatever. Like there's there's so much stigma surrounding the like the female body and how it's supposed to look before and after pregnancy that I think people shy away from it. So I think
Mm-hmm.
I'd much rather give you the chance to at least try so that you know what you're so you can after you try just try once and then after that you'll be able to make your own decision. I think you should make your own decision.
Secret. Yeah, yeah. That's
Just
what I
try
always tell
it.
people. I'm like, just try it. Even
Exactly.
if you breastfeed for like a couple of
Just try
days,
it.
like, it's no need in wasting the
Exactly.
milk that's because
Right.
you have
And
it
if you can't and
anyway.
if
So
you don't
just
feel
try,
comfortable
you know?
breastfeeding, at least pump. Give your baby breast milk at the
Yeah.
very least. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? So yeah.
Yeah. So do you offer like body
It's
positivity
so funny.
coaching or anything like
That's not the
that?
first time I've been hearing that. Like I've heard that recently. I would love to. I think I have the ability to do that. Um, I already wear so many hats that it would definitely have to be once like I'm more comfortable in one area, and then I'm like, okay, this can be a secondary thing. But I would love to. I think it just depends on what type of coaching it would be, because I don't know if it could be as like hands
Mm-hmm.
on like life mentoring, but if it's like a thing of like I'm struggling, what are your tips, or like can we build out some type of like treatment plan almost like sure. And I'm actually interested. It's funny. I'm interested in going back to school to become a therapist. I think that would be really cool to kind of combine that with my doula work too. I think that would be really cool because I mean,
Yes, absolutely. And we need so
absolutely,
many more perinatal mental health
absolutely,
therapists specifically for Black moms. So that would
absolutely,
absolutely be amazing. I probably should have asked this before, but it just came to me to say, like, there are so many women who do struggle with
yeah,
body image, whether
yeah,
they are plus size or not, right? Like myself included. I think
absolutely.
we all struggle with insecurities, but especially when you're Black,
Mm-hmm.
you're plus size, all of the things. What would you say is the thing that gave you the
Yeah,
fuck that? Like, okay, so what? Like, so what? I'm Black, I'm a brown skinned
so
woman, and I'm heavy set. So what? Like, I'm pushing past that. It's not going to stifle me or cause me to be like stagnant or behind. Where did your confidence come
honestly, I
from?
can't
Right? Like,
thank
where did
nobody
that
but
come from?
God for real. I think it really has a lot to do with my personality and just how like strong-willed I am. Um, and I really don't like telling people telling me what to do. So it's that especially pertains to my body and how I look and how I operate in the world. I think it's often easier said than done because we all are susceptible to image, like just what we see. Like advertisement and marketing truly is meant to like put marginalized women, Black women, plus size women into a box. And so I think it's really just
Mm-hmm.
about finding the wherewithal and finding that like inner fire. It's like I'm passionate about making a difference, and I can't do that in the shadows. And the change that I want to make is going to happen regardless of what type of body I'm in. And also, even if I do
Mm-hmm.
want to change, it's not going to happen overnight. So I can't let that stop me from the overall goal, which is helping everybody. Like my focus is always community. It's
Mm-hmm.
always people. It's always outside of me. So I don't mind standing in the gap. I don't mind being a vessel. I don't mind like to take it to church, like interceding. You know what I'm saying? And being some type of like person to being the person to speak up, and I don't mind like taking
Mm-hmm.
hits. I have a smart mouth. So if like, you know what I'm saying? If you want to go toe to toe me, that's fine, but like you're going to lose. But also it's like once again, the focus
Mm-hmm.
is not me. So I don't give that much energy. I want people to feel like when they see me, they're represented. They feel like they see themselves. They feel
They
heard.
see
Like,
themselves.
because there are people
Yeah.
who will never speak out just because of what they've gone through. But I do hope that when they hear somebody like me advocating for them, they're like, oh, she's got me and she wants the best for me. And that's my main goal, you
Mm.
know. That's my main
Yeah.
passion.
Yeah.
Oh, thank
Well, thank
you. I'm so
you so
happy.
much. It's so close to the end. Okay, so tell the people where they can find you. Oh, you know what else I wanted to ask you? Okay, so before we go, I want to ask you like the
Okay.
life of an influencer, right? So
Yeah.
not taking us into your secrets and all the things, but like, what does that look like? What does that has that been your
Yeah.
sustainability for like, however many years? Like, what does that look like? The life of
Yeah,
an
you just put it
influencer. This
up.
question's for me because I was a mommy. I was a
Ooh.
mommy blogger at one point, and I wanted to be like
I'm
social media famous, and
crying.
then anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah, here I am. I don't even like social media like that, but when pandemic did some things
Right.
to me, and I was like, I'm
I
gonna
mean,
be a
you
mom
still could
influencer.
be. You
Yeah,
have a great
whatever.
personality. Like
Anyways,
you should.
oh gosh, yeah, no. I'm so and whenever like I tapped into like certain networks with other like mom influencers and I was just like, how do you share your life without sharing your life?
Yeah.
I'm very like, like I don't mind enjoying and understanding other people but I have to be super vulnerable and close to you
Yeah.
to like let you see
Believe
inside.
it or
So
not,
like what
I'm
does
very
that
much
look
the
like?
same. I'm very private about what I like my inner workings and what I have going on, only because I value just like privacy and solitude. So part of my peace being able to do this type of work is to know when to separate it. Um, so a lot of it is like being vulnerable and talking about things. Mind you, my platform was built on something that I've been living with my entire life, which is a bigger body. So like, and it's something that, like I said, I had to learn to be vulnerable about because otherwise, in order to do what I want to do, if I'm hiding, I won't be able to do it. So I think part of it is a form of like liberation for me to be like, hey guys, like I'm out about this thing. I'm excited about it. I'm talking to people about it. I love myself. And even the days when I don't love myself, I want to share that too. So I think that's also another way to balance it is I definitely do the highs and the lows. Like I'm not like, I don't consider myself like an Instagram model. I don't even consider myself an influencer anymore because I feel like that word has become so oversaturated. I really do create content that with substance. It is about, once again, it's about outreach. It's about community. I'm trying to connect with people. And granted, I've been in a lull in my social media recently. I think just because of moving and just like my own things, it hasn't been as consistent. But the thing that remains, and I think that what takes me back every time, is that people, I genuinely connect with people, and people genuinely connect with me. So that is what I like to focus on. And if I don't want to share something, I don't have to. Like, and I think because of social media influencers, people feel entitled to anybody they see on the internet, like life story and like everything they have. And so sometimes like it does get a little intrusive. People like to ask stuff and I'm like, guys, not too much. Like I'm still a person. Like I understand I have this amount of followers, but I'm still me separate of y'all. So I try to keep that like reminding people that, but also it's an empowerment thing too. Cause it's like there are people who feel like in our lives who feel like they have access to us all the time, right? Especially if you're a helpful person and someone who likes to be there for others. There are people who are going to take advantage of that. So that can become a life lesson of like, oh, if I'm not in the space to be vulnerable to share this with these people, I hope they can understand that it's not personal, it has nothing to do with them and everything to do with me and cherishing what's important and sacred to me at this time. So I think that's like, that's the biggest way I've been able to like survive. But I do plan to I have so much content, so much content. And I mean, to answer the question, you can find me at this Instagram page, Simone Mariposa. I also have a new page coming soon. It's going to be called, or it's my Instagram page is the Butterfly Birth Doula. So follow that. And then I have my website, thesimonemariposa.com. And then I'm also building my doula page specifically as like a landing page so people can see what my services are. You can email me, SimoneMariposa93@gmail. DM me if you have any questions. I just, yes, yes.
Let me drop it in the chat. At Simone Mariposa. That's your Instagram.
And then the Butterfly Birth Doula too. Butterfly.
Yes, share that, and then I will share your email. It's Simone Butterfly 93, right? Yes. Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Simone, for joining us. For joining me this evening and sharing a little bit about you, and letting us get to know you. Like, you know,
I know. Honestly, we've always connected,
and
I want to do a better job of like showing my face. I think because I'm so introspective and like I said, I value my solitude and I'm often in my own world that I forget that people are looking for me, looking out for me and like want to be there to support me. So that's my own inner work that I'm doing, my shadow work of relying on the people around me. So I'm appreciative that this was, this was at the perfect time to be able to talk to you and to talk to people. So yeah.
Yes. Well, if y'all are looking for Simone, please find her at the Atlanta Doula Collective or at one of her social handles or her email in the chat. We hope that you would watch this back. If you didn't catch all of it, definitely watch it back. Simone shares so much and such important things with us about body positivity, about loving yourself, about owning who you are, and moving in your purpose, right? And like doing so with confidence. And so we really appreciate it, Simone.
All right.
And we will talk
See you soon. Bye.
Bye.